Hello, this is the 167th edition of Catch of the Day, available on the Branch Talk YouTube channel. Today we're going to continue reading from a book written by Doug Mitchell, The Four Carpenters, The Ensign, The Time of Jacob's Trouble, and The First Deliverance. Starting near the top of page 5, we read, "There we find that the sword by which the Assyrian is to fall is not that of a mighty man or of a mean man. Thus it is incumbent upon us to find out who is the one whose sword is to accomplish that victory, and how he and his sword relate to the four carpenters, and the voice of the Lord, since they all accomplish the same end, the end of the times of the Gentiles. Moreover, we need to find out how that sword will be wielded. This we will do as we progress herein." One other aspect involved in the matter is the fall of Jerusalem, and who or what brings that about. Zechariah 14:2, "For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city." In view of the fact that Jerusalem is to be protected by a wall of fire, Zechariah 2:5, while the house of Jacob reigns there, it is definite that the battle here described must be fought before the house of Judah is established. In that battle, the nations will defeat the rulers of the promised land. Then it is that the house of Judah commences to be set up. As the warring nations besiege the city and rifle the houses, also ravage the women, they are by no means righteous nations. But since not all the inhabitants go into captivity, and since all are not cut off from the city, it must be that the wicked are taken away, and the righteous left in to join the house of Judah. 1 TG 19, page 3 and 4. Correctly understanding this aspect is most important, because the fall of Jerusalem does not necessarily signal the end of the times of the Gentiles, as some may assume. That is, while the warring nations accomplish Jerusalem's fall, those nations then become the ones who control the land, and they themselves need to be driven out before the saints can possess the land. Those warring nations have their own agenda, and though they will be fulfilling God's will concerning Jerusalem at that time, they will not be acting on behalf of the saints in preparing the land for their return. That is, they have their own plans for the land, to use it to set up their counterfeit kingdom. As those warring nations that besiege Jerusalem do so in the character of a mighty man, seeing that they take captive half of the city, and also in the character of a mean man, seeing that they rifle the houses and ravish the women, then it cannot be their sword that causes the Assyrian to fall. While Zechariah saw that it will be all nations that will be gathered against Jerusalem, Isaiah saw that it will be the Assyrian that will be used by God to bring about the fall of the hypocritical nation. Isaiah 10 verse 6. The nation not desired. Zephaniah 2:1. And that he will also need to be removed from the land after he brings about that fall. The Lord's purpose in so doing or in so using the Assyrian, is twofold. 1. Punishing the hypocritical nation for the last time, Ezekiel 16 verse 42, and 2. To thereby bring repentance to those who take that circumstance to heart and fall upon the stone, Matthew 21 verse 44, are broken and raised in glory. We'll look further into this aspect later. The apparent diversity of the foregoing statements reveals the need to reconcile them in light of the Bible and testimonies of the Spirit in order to see clearly the path before us. As we shall see, one key to understanding this lies in knowing when these things are to occur relative to what is happening in the revival and reformation in the church. 126. To know that, we need to understand what events lead up to that time, and what is to actually happen to those who will be forced to give up their control of the land and leave it. As one of our main purposes herein is to examine this subject anew, to see if the 4 carpenters that will cause the Gentiles to leave the land also represent the promised ensign, we need to address the question, do the 4 carpenters really represent something of the same nature as the 4 horns? We are asking this question because Brother Hart have said repeatedly that both the 4 horns and the 4 carpenters represent Gentile powers. Take care.